Some of you, when you decided to take diabetes seriously and make some real changes in your diet, had the terrible thought, I'm going to have to eat like a bird. I can never taste anything sweet the rest of my life. My days of enjoying my meals are gone forever. Wrong, wrong, wrong. In this video, I want to demonstrate that it is possible to get filled up at a meal, have a dessert afterward, and still keep your blood sugar under control. Is that even possible? You'd better believe it is. Welcome to my dinner. It's a Wednesday night, and I'm going to eat this meal, have a marvelous dessert, and then test my blood sugar afterwards to hopefully demonstrate that yes, there is life and pleasure after switching to a low-carb or keto diet. And surely there is. I have here my main meal, which consists of a hamburger patty, and I've got some lettuce and picante sauce on there and some cheese, and also a good-sized garden salad. The hamburger patty is pretty large. I divided a 1-pound pack of hamburger into 3 parts, and so this one patty represents one of those parts. It's a 1/3-pound hamburger. McDonald's made a big deal about their 1/4 pounder, but this is bigger than that. Of course, it has 0 bread, and that will really help me keep my blood sugar from spiking too much. The salad has no chips or other items that are high carb, and the dressing is one of the lowest ranch dressings you can buy at the grocery store, and I even diluted it some with water so it's even lower still. So this meal is quite low carb, but what about the dessert? For dessert afterward, I'm going to enjoy a scone. That's right, a scone, and that's what this baby is. Probably many of you know what scones are, but maybe some of you would be like I was in my earlier adult years. I'd never heard of scones, I guess because my mom had never made them for us. She made cakes and cookies and pies, but she never said, we're going to have scones for dessert tonight. Actually, I first learned about scones reading the book Rebecca on a flight home from Africa. Now, when I'm in the U.S., I almost never have time to read novels, but once in a while on one of these long international flights, I'll treat myself and read a novel. I'd seen the Alfred Hitchcock movie called Rebecca, and I really enjoyed it, and by the way, I love old movies. So I decided I would read the novel. And in the novel, the heroine lived in luxury in Britain and was served scones at tea time every day around 5 p.m., which is a very British thing to do. Well, that kind of intrigued me, but by that time I was doing low carb and I could never eat ordinary sugar-filled scones. But a while back I saw a recipe on the internet for low-carb scones and I had to try them. And lo and behold, I thoroughly enjoyed them. And on top of the great taste, they're pretty easy to make and they don't take a lot of time once you've made them a couple of times. So if you're going to excuse me, I'm going to enjoy my dinner of a hamburger patty and a salad, and then I'll enjoy my scone with some coffee. I tested my blood sugar just before coming on camera, and it was at 91. I'll test my glucose after this meal, plus dessert, and I'll get back to you. I think I should be able to report that at least for me, I can have a dinner plus a dessert and keep at a reasonable blood sugar. See ya after a while. Before we get to the results, let's take a look at how the blueberry scones are made. The recipe will be in the description below. You'll need 2 bowls, one for the wet ingredients and one for the dry stuff. In the bowl for the dry ingredients, pour in 1 cup of almond flour, then add a 1/4 cup of coconut flour. Next, a 1/4 cup of the non-sugar sweetener of your choice. I used Stevia. Add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder and 2 or 3 shakes of salt. Mix the dry ingredients thoroughly until well blended. In the bowl for the wet ingredients, add a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream, or you could use almond or coconut milk. Add 2 tablespoons of melted coconut oil, then add a whole egg. You can add a teaspoon of vanilla, which I forgot this time. Mix all the wet ingredients well with a fork or whisk, and then pour the wet ingredients into the bowl of dry ingredients. Now mix all the ingredients thoroughly until they look sort of like cookie dough. Now it's time to mix in a 1/2 cup of blueberries. Keep working with the dough and the blueberries until the blueberries are thoroughly integrated into the dough. Prepare a pan or cooking sheet with parchment paper, and then shape your scone mixture into a circular shape. Place the mixture onto the parchment paper and then press it a little more until you get it to the size you want. For me, I want the dough to be a little more than half an inch in height, but you can shape it according to preference. If you want thicker, smaller scones, don't press the dough too thin. Then cut the scones into either 6 or 8 separate pieces and separate. The official recipe recommends making 8 scones, but to me they come out just too small, so I make 6. Before you start making the scones, preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Once the scones are prepared, place them in the oven and bake them for between 18 and 25 minutes, depending upon your particular stove and preference. While the scones are baking, you can make the topping. Place a half cup of sour cream into a bowl and add about 4 packets of Stevia or some other non-sugar sweetener. I mix in a teaspoon of orange extract. I know that may seem a strange flavor to use in a topping that's going to go on blueberry scones, but I think it's a great combination. Of course, you can use any other flavor extract you like or use no extract at all. When the scones are done, bring them out of the oven and let them cool. When they're sufficiently cooled, apply the topping to the individual scones. When you store them in the fridge, try to put them in a container large enough so that it won't mess up the topping. And that's it. You've just made yourself an awesome low-carb, non-blood sugar spiking dessert. Well, the tests are complete and the results were good. I ate a filling meal, I topped it off with coffee and a blueberry scone, and I saw a minimal blood sugar rise. Now, before I tell you my results, keep this in mind. If you've watched my videos, you know there are some foods I can eat that will send my blood sugar soaring past 200. So when you hear these results, don't assume that I just don't have any blood sugar issues. I do if I eat one way, but I don't if I eat another way. And with this meal and this dessert of a blueberry scone, I had no problems. As I mentioned earlier, my pre-meal test was 91. After eating the hamburger and salad and then the scone with coffee, 30 minutes after finishing my meal, my blood sugar read 105. At the 1 hour mark, which is when my blood sugar typically peaks, I was at 104. And at 2 hours, my blood sugar read 101. The verdict on this meal of a hamburger patty, a salad with ranch dressing, and a blueberry scone with coffee, no problem. What I'm demonstrating to you is something I've been doing since around 2002, and I still do it today. I test various foods and complete meals by measuring how far these foods and these meals spike my blood sugar. How do they affect me? I don't want to know how they affect John Doe or Susie Doe. I want to know how they affect me. And meals like this one, which give such a scrawny little glucose peak, I file those away for future reference. I know this meal should be safe, and I know that I can enjoy it again and again. Of course, I'll test myself again from time to time just to see if anything changes, but chances are this is a meal I can be eating the rest of my life without doing any damage to my body. And this little dessert can be one of my go-to desserts. It honestly tastes great, so good that it doesn't taste like some diabetic dessert at all. If I didn't have diabetes and I was at somebody's house where they served me these blueberry scones, I'd just assume it was a normal dessert. But of course it wasn't. I know what some of you are thinking. You're saying to yourself, yeah, but those scones seem kind of small. I think I'd need 2 or 3 of them to satisfy me. Well, you could try 2 and test yourself, but you do need to remember this. The days of you pigging out on food, whether it's low carb or laced with sugar, are over. If you're really serious about overcoming diabetes, stuffing yourselves to the gills at meals is no longer an option. Yeah, the scones were a little small, but they gave me a nice sweet taste, they went well with the coffee, and I'm totally satisfied. Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. The basic recipe for these scones came from a wonderful keto, low-carb website where they provide all kinds of low-carb recipes. You'll find it at wholesomeyum.com. I'll put a link in the description below. If you get on this lady's email list, you'll be getting so many wonderful recipes in your inbox, you won't have enough time in your life to try them all. Now, I did make a couple of adjustments to the Scones recipes. I just can't resist tampering with different recipes. And the sour cream topping was something I found years ago from somebody else. I don't remember where. One other thing to mention is that you could use the same recipe and substitute strawberries for the blueberries, and it should probably work out just fine. Even though I've warned you about too much fruit, many of the various berries, in moderation, are the exception. At least for me, I can have small amounts of them and they do very little to raise my blood sugar. But don't take my word for it. Test yourself and see how they affect you. Well, that's about it. If you appreciated the video, give it a thumbs up so YouTube will recognize its value and promote it to others seeking answers to diabetes. And consider subscribing to this channel and then click that little bell icon so you'll be notified every time we post a new video. God bless. See you again soon.